Alright, what's up, guys? I took two trades today on NQ, and I basically longed after London Open, like an hour after London Open, and I longed after 9:30. And there's a lot of lessons to be picked up here, right? There's a lot of strength switching that went on with this move higher as well. Excuse my voice, just because I'm really sick and my head hurts. But I wanna put out this video for you guys to study about strength switching, and I want you guys to kind of denote how we delivered and how we're strength switching as we deliver higher into this ultimate draw. So let's start with the daily. It is being recorded. Start with the daily. So, first off, I don't really mind these failure swings, right? It is a fake concern just because it is not really like a very far sequence, as you would say, right? It's not like a really far sequence that you can take right here. And so I was skeptical at first, trading away from these failure swings on NQ, but we formed a gap away from it. We formed this 4 hour gap. We're expanding away, right? We have expansion away from it, and we have YM SMTs at the low right here. Though I would have liked it if YM took this low, but we're just probably leaving those equal lows as a target for like next month or something. So starting today, we're opening up after a candle 2 closure right here. And so I'm expecting NQ to run Monday highs, although it's a bit sus just because the weekly wick is kind of small. I mean, it's not the smallest wick of all time, but that's why I was kind of concerned. And the other thing I was concerned about is this deep retracement on NQ, right? This deep retracement, I didn't like that, but YM didn't have a deep retracement at all. It stayed in the gap, which is fine. It's acceptable. But you see how NQ is having this deep retracement right here, and you see how YM stays in the gap. Now in this scenario, YM is stronger, but notice how NQ actually delivered to the high, while YM is a bit far from the high, if that makes sense. And so coming into the day here, this is 1800. We don't have an established high of day, right? You just have this swing high. All you have is the swing high as the high of day, and we tap into the gap right here, 2200, but we fail to reverse. And so what do you get? What signature do you get when you fail to reverse? You get an AMD reversal, right? So you have accumulation manipulation that we distribute higher. When we fail to reverse from a key level and we consolidate, and you have high conviction that we're still going to reverse, then we need to resweep the lower consolidation high before we reverse the other way around. And so we do have this. It's only a single PSP right here. YM closed bullish and Q closed bearish, right? But if you want to consider like this SMT right here, it's a small gap. Technically, it's an SMT, but I don't like using SMTs like this. SMT feels like this. I like using them when there's only one gap, right? And so you technically do have that SMT, but there is also no strength switch. But if you were looking at this, and this is supposed to be the high of day, you could have taken this. You could have taken this CSD higher, but it's just a bit sus for me. I don't like this deep retracement. I don't like these signatures that are being printed, and that is why I didn't exactly take this CSD to trade higher. But we do have this strength switch here, right? So you see how NQ is trading deeper, and NQ is the one that is closing bearish, right? Now you have an SMT fill where it's the other way around, and this is actually coming back to one of my lectures earlier. First off, we did have let me pull up both charts. First off, we do have this 15-minute gap, right? This 15-minute gap right here. And the 15-minute gap failed to deliver. As you can see, there's no SMT. Now after that, we move on to the 30-minute gap, and we have this kind of 30-minute sequence right here. Where, as you can see, YM traded below this low, and there's no gap, right? And as you can see, NQ is not trading into that gap. Now, this is concerning me for some reason. for a couple of reasons. Just because if you look here, this is a deep retracement on YM. So I was expecting this to kind of just consolidate. But what I do know here is that it cannot sweep this low anymore because this is a protected swing. You already know this is low of day, right? And so what you could have maybe gotten was NQ re-sweeping this gap. This was I was kind of concerned. I didn't like the deep retracement on YM, but we did get that signature off of the 30-minute SMT fill, which is this. Ideally, yeah, you could have taken this as well. This CSD higher with your stop here. I would have set my stop here at the body, and it would have been stopped. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I didn't like it just because this is all just consolidation. And then, if you look at the time, actually, it's 3:42. It's the last 15 minutes of the candle. If it has to go, it's gonna go. Otherwise, it's gonna close as an hourly gap, and it's gonna close as an hourly gap, and it's just gonna deliver from there. I'll get to your guys' questions after the recap. And also, I wanted to see kind of a stronger CSD on NQ right here. I wanted to see a close above this. That's why I didn't take it. And so we got that hourly SMT fill. Now, if this hourly wouldn't have delivered, I would have waited for the 90-minute. But when you look at the 90-minute, there's actually no gap. And so we're delivering. We failed to deliver from the 50-minute gap. So now we wait for the 30-minute gap. The 30-minute gap did give a bit of a setup, but it was just consolidation. It was a bit lower probability, and it could have swept you at any time. And so now we wait for the hourly gap, right? Now we wait for an hourly gap. And so after that hourly gap, you see this SMT fill. This is a strength switch, as you can see, where NQ is trading very deep into the range. NQ is the one that closed bearish, and now NQ is the one that's not filling the gap. And now you see YM, the stronger asset, is the one that is filling the gap right here. Right, you see 4 a.m. low, didn't sweep that, and that is a strength switch, right? Because NQ has this deep retracement lower, right? If we want to expand higher on all three assets with the same energy and the same volatility, this asset that is previously stronger with a deep retracement needs to have a strength switch, right? This needs to have a strength switch here. You need NQ to be stronger than YM because YM is already very high here in the range without this deep retracement. And so it doesn't need that strength switch. It's going to go high up either way. But NQ here, it needs a strength switch to trade higher. So after that SMT fill, I took the 3-minute CSD. What the hell? I will close that for now. I took this 3-minute CSD, and I have my stop here. I have my stop below 50% of the wick. It was either there or I refined. I can't really remember. I don't think it matters a lot, but I took it to this high. Oh, wait, it was supposed to be a 5R, so yeah, I think I did set it at the body. Yeah, it was a 5R, and so I held it to this high. I took one. I was in this with like 3 contracts, if I remember correctly. I took one off at this high, and then I took the rest at this high, and so that was my first trade. And we're profiling the daily profile with an open. So first we open right here. We form the low, the protraction phase of the day. Although this one I didn't like just because it had a deep retracement. But as soon as we get that strength switch, I was fine with the deep retracement, and I was very sure. I had a lot of conviction that we're gonna go to these highs. And so now after this, we have open, low, that's a protraction of the daily, and now we should just expand higher. And so my next trade is just basically a continuation higher. So coming in here from 9:30, right? This is asset synchronization, where this, and also an advanced premium discount sequence where, so you can see NQ is perfectly at EQ of this range, while YM is below EQ of this range. Now this is the exact same logic that I had earlier with NQ and YM, simply because now YM is having this deep retracement with the sweep of the lows, right? And so now you need a strength switch so YM can resync and trade higher as well, if that makes sense. So because YM had this deep retracement, it's the exact same as NQ. NQ had this deep retracement, So you need a strength switch. You need NQ, or the asset that had the deep retracement, to have a strength switch, and this is exactly what we get. We get that strength switch for the asset that retraced deep, and now that just played out exactly like the YM trade. So now YM is the one that is retracing deep and taking this low, and now we need a strength switch, and that is exactly what we get right here. As you can see, YM didn't sweep this low. That is your strength switch, but NQ swept the low. And so after this, I took NQ. Obviously, you take NQ here because it is the strongest asset. I was a bit late to this. Ideally, you take this CSD, but I took this this gap instead, and I have my stop at the body. I was targeting this high for a 4R. Now, we have denoted that you need a strength switch for the asset to resync, but I want you guys to study this whenever you're in a trade. So you want to see here how you get that strength switching, right? I want to just point this small detail out there that I want you guys to notice and appreciate when you're trying to enter trades. So you see how inside of this range, YM was YM here was sorry, excuse me. YM here is the one that is resweeping and filling the gap. So you can see NQ creates a gap. Where am I? NQ creates a gap, doesn't shrink to the gap. And you see how YM is weaker here. Now let's take a look at the lower time frame signatures, right? Let me get to that point in price. So you see how right here, where both assets are expanding higher. But I want you to look at this, right? Where is it? Where is it? You get strength switch signatures even as price is trading higher. So you can see here between NQ and YM, you see how we're getting, wait, where is it? Yeah, so exactly. So you see here, right, where right at this phase of price, I want you guys to focus on this particular, not phase, area of price, right? So we're going to circle that right now. I want you guys to know that this is above EQ of the range on NQ. So you see how we're overextended, like we're in deep premium of the range, while in here, in that particular phase of price, which is at 5 a.m. So NQ was in deep premium, but if you look at YM, it is still below EQ, right? So what do we get with the asset that is in premium? It needs to be weaker so the asset that is in discount can catch up, and they can both go to the same draw at the same time. So you see here is just a small detail that is really fucking amazing. I just wanted to point out here. Just because when you start to notice these signatures in price, as I was in the trade, I was noticing these signatures, and that is what gave me confidence that we are going to trade higher. So when you're in an expansion, trade and you see price strength switching like this is basically confirmation that you're going to expand to the draw, just because both of these assets are giving way for each other, right? They're one asset, this asset that is very, very strong, that is in deep premium, is switching temporarily as the weaker asset, right? And you see here the asset that is still in discount with the same draw is now switching to the stronger asset. So you see how immediately after that strength switch, we expanded higher, right? We expanded higher. And even here, right? Even here on this 9:30 trade, if you look at the trade that I took on 9:30, we're gonna drop down to the 1 minute just so we can be a bit more specific with this, right? So you see how, sorry, you see how YM is the one that is obviously weaker here, right? YM is obviously the weaker asset, and Q is obviously the stronger asset. But you look at how these candles kind of move, right? So you see how as we're opening 10, we're expanding higher. Now look at this 9:59 candle. Like look at how small it is compared to this one in 9:59. With this YM 9:59 candle, you have it closing above this high, while on NQ it's not closing above this high, but that doesn't mean that NQ is going to switch as the weaker asset. It just means that NQ is allowing YM to move higher as well. And you kind of have this advanced premium and discount sequence right after the trade where NQ resweeps this low and YM stays above that low. But YM was the weaker asset overall. So what's happening here is that NQ is temporarily switching to the weaker asset, while YM is temporarily switching to the stronger asset, so that they can be in sync, so that they could both expand higher. And that is something that I want you guys to appreciate in price when you actually dive very deep into strength switching and you guys start to notice these little things that are happening as we expand. These things give me confidence in price as I am inside the trade, and these things are basically what confirm expansion for me. That's a little bit just a sneak peek into the strength switch lecture that I am going to deliver. Now I want you guys to study this. Whenever you guys are in a trade, you look at the lower time frame signatures and look at the signatures between the weakest and the strongest asset, and you guys will notice that even in the lower time frame, they switch strength to allow for each other to catch up. And this is what I mean when I say you get the strength switch on the lower time frame sometimes. That is something I want you guys to appreciate for when trading expansions like this. And so yeah, that's going to be my recap for today. I hope you guys picked something up from this. Yeah.